everybody. What's going on? So, what I have for you today is the official launch of this YouTube channel. Now, there have already been a couple videos. I will have already put the podcast that I recorded up today, which is a very good podcast. So, if you haven't listened to that already, go check it out. The link to that will be in the description. So, if you don't know anything about me, I'm going to kind of reintroduce what this channel is going to be about. There's also a intro to the channel YouTube video. That's the first video on the channel. So if this description before I get into the content today is not enough for you, go check that out and there'll be more for you there. But basically what this channel is going to be is I'm going to be talking a lot about sports. And for the most part, I'm not going to be doing anything that isn't sports. If I get more of a following and you guys want me to do stuff that isn't necessarily sports related, I will do that. But for the time being, this channel is going to be about sports. If you go onto my actual channel page and look at the header, you can see the actual schedule for what video is going to come out on what days. If you want, you can also click on my header and go to the website. Thank you to my good friend Morgan, who's helped me set all of this up. She set that up. So you can also go to the website on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I will also have articles up on my website. And then Monday and Friday, there will be podcasts, my podcast, Next Man Up. We have fantastic guests, players, coaches, fantastic writers and broadcasters in the sports industry. It's amazing. So go check it out. So today is the bit of a special video, not something I'm normally going to be doing on Mondays. On Mondays, for the most part, anything you're going to see on this channel is going to be my podcast. Fridays will be my podcast and my baseball videos. And then the rest of the schedule, like I said, you can see on the header. But today what I want to talk about is how sports are doing in quarantine and everything that's going on. So pretty much the only sports we have right now is the Michael Jordan Last Dance documentary. We had the NFL draft, which was a 3-day thing. I did a lot about that. You can see my reaction video of me kind of upset about the Jordan Love pick for the Packers. I did some NFL draft special podcasts. I wrote an article about it. So I did a lot for the NFL draft. Now, because the NBA draft was officially postponed, the NBA draft and everything that was supposed to go on in May has been postponed. The combine has been postponed. So we don't know when that's going to happen. We don't know if and when the season is going to resume. There are a lot of unknowns in sports. I believe the first thing that's really scheduled to be coming back is, I believe, the Masters or some PGA golf event is supposed to occur sometime in June. Other than that, we don't really have a scheduled event. So I don't really know when sports are going to come back. I don't know when we're going to have live sports to cover. The NFL draft was fantastic. It was awesome seeing the Twitter community, all of the sports community together doing so much content around that. It was amazing. Shout out to the NFL. They did a fantastic job. I talked about this a little bit on my podcast, but other than the ESPN broadcast telling a lot of really sad stories about these players, which I get. It's important to see these players not just as football players, but as people as well, and understand where they came from. I thought the ESPN and NFL Network broadcast could have toned down a little bit on those depressing stories. Like I believe they talked about a very long time about CeeDee Lamb and how his mother used to be addicted to drugs, which is a fantastic recovery story. She's doing amazing now. She did a fantastic job raising her son. But I think other than that, they could have toned that down a little bit. Other than that, they did an amazing job with that production. Roger Goodell was fantastic, starting off the draft all dressed up, basically in a suit, announcing picks, and then he ended up in a sweater vest, sitting in his recliner, announcing picks. I think in the second or third round, he got tired apparently, which I don't blame him. So that was a lot of fun. In general, I thought the NFL draft was an amazing production. I live streamed it. Like I said, I've done a lot of content around the NFL draft. It was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. It had ridiculous viewership. I want to say it was like 8.2 million average viewers throughout the entire thing, which is incredible. It averaged more viewers than NBA Finals games. It averaged more viewers than the Masters. I mean, it was ridiculous. So shout out to the NFL. They did an amazing job with that. All of the camera shots they had of a ridiculous amount of players and the video they were able to get to go into that production was fantastic. So other than watching my YouTube videos and listening to my podcast and reading my articles, what can you guys do while in quarantine? I wrote an article about this. It's probably on my website. So if you want to kind of basically read the rest of this video online, you can go do that. But I'm going to talk about kind of for the rest of this video, for the last couple of minutes, what you can do in quarantine as a sports person. So if you are an athlete, I think this is the best time ever not just to train yourself in different ways. I mean, because let's take football players, for example. They're very used to their weight training, their explosion training, their cardio. They do a lot of basic things that they just kind of have gotten into the flow of wherever they are in their career, whether you're in high school, college, in the professional level. So let's say for football players, I think this is a great time to learn new skills. If you're a linebacker, this is a great time to train as a defensive back, train in coverage, train in all of those ways that you're not used to training. Because you're not going to forget in a couple month period how to be a linebacker. You're not going to forget how to stop the run. You're not going to forget how to play some zone coverage in the middle of the field. But getting more speed, getting faster, getting used to covering some slot guys, getting used to picking up more coverages that you're not used to picking up, watching that film and also training for it, both of those are some things that you can do. So for any athletes, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, even Olympic sports, if you're talking about skiing or something like that, the ability right now to learn new skills in a time where it's basically an extended off season for everyone across the world in every single sport, not just in American sports, but in soccer. I mean, soccer is an American sport. What am I talking about? But just in sports across the world, not just in the United States, this is an opportunity for people to learn new skills and to practice things that normally they wouldn't have the opportunity to practice, because everybody gets in such a rhythm, such a flow, and that's not normally something we just have the time to do. So for athletes out there, this is the time to learn skills. If you're a basketball player, go watch that Michael Jordan documentary. Go dig deep into MJ, Kobe, LeBron highlights. Look at their footwork. Look at how they do. If you're a big man, go look at Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell highlights. You can find those on YouTube. You can find the really old film. Watch what they do. Watch how they were so dominant. I mean, obviously that size and the physical training comes into it, and you need to make sure you stay on top of that. But go look at film and get better. On the other side of it, let's say you are somebody like me who wants to go into the reporting, the broadcasting, the podcasting, the writing side of sports. This is an amazing opportunity to get practice. There are over 100 years worth of American sports that we can talk about. There really is not an excuse right now if you are somebody who wants to go into the sports world to not be producing content. And that's why I am doing what I am doing, because this is the opportunity where in a couple weeks, school is going to be over. I don't know, depending on what school you go to, it might already be over. You might be done with finals, whether you're in high school, college, I don't know. But this is an opportunity where we have time to learn a ridiculous amount of skills. I'm teaching myself Adobe Audition, Adobe Premiere. I'm learning video editing. I'm learning audio editing. I'm learning how to be a better overall sports person. I don't know, sports, I don't even know the word for it. I mean, because I'm trying not to limit myself to writing or broadcasting or podcasting or video making, trying to do all of it and learn all of it to the best of my ability. And so if you are somebody who wants to go into the sports world, whether it be behind the camera, in front of the camera, online, whatever that may be, this is a time where you can practice your skills. So write the articles, reach out to people. That's how I get guests on my podcast. People ask me a lot of time when I'm doing interviews, how do you get all these guests? I mean, I just reach out to people. I DM them on Twitter. I DM them on Instagram. And so don't be afraid to reach out to people, because if you're really bored, then the very famous people who normally are covering sports big time on Fox or ESPN or NFL and MLB, NBA Network, they don't have anything to do really either. They might still be working, but they're working from home. They don't have much to do. They're hanging out with their families. They're just as bored as we are. So don't be afraid to reach out to those people, and don't be afraid to create the content that you've been wanting to create for a long time, but haven't had the opportunity to. And the last thing I would say is just watch old games. If you're somebody who is younger and likes video games, or even older and likes video games, play some Madden, play some 2K, play FIFA, whatever you want to do, watch old games. Like I said, it's amazing the things you can learn about the past generations. I mean, I'm only 20 years old. It's amazing just watching the Michael Jordan documentary, what I learn about what I learned about older basketball that I didn't know before. It's amazing. And there are things I just didn't know. You hear Stephen A. and Smith and Max Kellerman ranting about Michael Jordan and older basketball and how it used to be, and the Bad Boy Pistons and things like that. But we've never people my age have never actually watched it. So go back and watch those games, learn as much as you can, and improve yourself, because this is an opportunity that we probably will never see for the rest of our lifetimes. I mean, I have never experienced a global pandemic. Nobody I know has ever experienced a global pandemic, and there's a very good chance it won't happen for another 100 years or something of that nature. Hopefully, something like this never happens again, because it's awful, but history repeats itself. So, most likely, unfortunately, it will. But with that being said, use this opportunity, become closer with family members, become closer with friends. You can still hang out with people 6 feet apart. You can still talk to people. So even if you are missing your sports fix, I know sports are something that usually bring people together. During World War I and World War II, that's when baseball became the national pastime and became so popular, because in a time where we are all really sad and don't know what to do, sports are usually what bring us together. And so don't lose that. Although we may not have live sports, we still have access to sports. You can still go on MLB.com and they have the last 2 years of baseball games up. You can go on NFL Game Pass and they have the last almost 10 years of football games up there for every single team, every single game. So go watch those games, go learn something, watch an old game with your dad or your grandfather or your mom or your grandmother, somebody who you know in your family that loves sports. It will make a difference in your relationship, and it's going to help you. If you're somebody in the sports world, it's going to help you learn something. So with all of that being said, I hope something in there was helpful. Thank you for coming and watching this YouTube video. After this, it's going to be a little bit less of me like giving you life advice and more just me ranting about sports. We're going to have a baseball video up later this week talking about MLB and marketing. We're going to have a basketball video up later this week talking about the G League versus NCAA and how that's going to impact the basketball world going forward. And then we're also going to have an NFL YouTube video up later this week talking about some generic like greatest of all time debates, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive positions, things like that. So that's what you can expect from me later this week. There's also going to be a very special video coming up on Wednesday, and you will hear more about that. So with that in mind, I have to go eat dinner. Dinner just arrived. So thank you guys for listening. You can look at the schedule. You guys know what's coming. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Links to all of my social media and everything like that will be in the description, so you can find my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, my podcast, all of that good jazz. So thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you later.